Welcome back everyone for some more Apollo Justice, Ace Attorney here on Nintendo Switch. And we are ready to begin day one of the trial in the case against Machi Tabai, who happens to be a blind pianist who is being charged with the murder of Latouche, who happened to be Lemuel's bodyguard slash interpreter slash manager. But we are ready to begin things here, even though we really don't have much of a defense, or we really don't really know much of anything so far. We really didn't get a whole lot on the case itself, so it's going to be interesting to see what kind of defense we're going to be able to build in order to support our client. But before we do that, hope you guys have an awesome day today. Hope you guys doing well. So without further ado, July 9th, 10 a.m., District Court, Courtroom Number 3. Court is now in session for, how do I say that? Machi Tabai, Your Honor, the Pixie of the Arpeggio. Right, his trial. Court is in session. Defense is ready, Your Honor. The prosecution is A-OK, Air Judge. Very well, Prosecutor Gavin. My opening statement, yeah? No, actually, there was something else I wanted to ask you about. Yes? Say you're gonna visit someone in the hospital with an incurable disease. What do you say to them? Eh? I mean, you wouldn't say, get well soon, right? You'd only be kicking them when they're down. What are you talking about? After I'm gonna visit someone who is terminally ill. Right after this trial, the Chief Justice's son. The Chief Justice? His son is afflicted with the most terrible disease. He doesn't have long, it seems. So I thought I'd go pay him a visit. I thought saying something moving might be the order of the day. Why don't grown-ups ever just say what's on their mind instead of pretending? She's looking at me with something like disgust. Hey, what are you looking at me like that for? In any case, I'm a bit busy today, so let's wrap this up quickly. Prosecutor Gavin, your opening statement, briefly. You're in luck, Air Judge. I believe you'll be going on your hospital visit sooner than you think. First, to review the victim in this case. Romaine Latouche, age 35, the global manager for Divas Changshis Lemuel. The cause of death, blood loss due to being shot by a large caliber revolver. This report has all the details. The court accepts this into evidence. Latouche's autopsy report added the court record. Death due to loss of blood from a gunshot wound. Estimated time of death between 9 and 9:30 p.m. 45 caliber, that's quite large, isn't it? A direct hit from that could knock a man off his feet. However, the bullet struck him in the shoulder. The damage to the body was slight. Death was not immediate. Sadly, his blood loss was such that he could not be saved. I suppose the victim's condition could have been much worse, considering. Crime photo added to court record. Victim shot in shoulder in Lemuel's room. 2 shots were fired. One shot missed, the other penetrated and passed through the victim's shoulder. Both bullets were found in the wall at the scene. Observe the diagram. This is where the bullets hit. I see. The court accepts this evidence. Diagram added to the court record. The crime scene was Lemuel's dressing room. If we're talking about 45 caliber revolver, we must assume that the killer is adept at the weapon's use. Really? Yeah, apparently, weapons that size have a powerful kickback. If, say, the judge tried to fire one, it would break every bone in his body. The defense will take more care in choosing examples. As I was saying, the victim was shot backstage in the dressing room. This dressing room is only one entrance, this door. That does seem to be the case, yes. However, there were witnesses who heard the gunshots. Let's talk about you and Emma, huh? Yet when the witnesses entered the room, it was empty, save for the victim's body, of course. But that's impossible. Exactly. This murder was impossible. For all but one person. One person? That is, of course, the defendant, Machi Tabai. Only this defendant could have committed the crime, but how? It's quite simple. The circumstances of the crime scene make it clear. Very well. I assume you have testimony to back up this claim. Please show the witness to the stand. Oh, hey, Emma. Your name and profession, please. Emma Sky. I'm a detective for the police department. I was on security detail at the concert forum that night. Emma seems tired somehow. Security to concert, you say? Some security I was couldn't even stop a murder. Now, don't blame yourself. Things like this happen. I've made even bigger mistakes in my career, you know. I'm sure that makes her feel much better. I want to hear about these bigger mistakes. In any case, because you were on security detail, the crime was quickly discovered, and we were able to identify the killer. You may give the court your testimony if you would. Describe the circumstances that day and your discovery of the crime, please. Alright. Yeah, she seems less enthusiastic about this. Witness testimony. Murder circumstances. The night of the murder, I was on security backstage at Prosecutor Gavin's request. Only people involved in the concert in some way were allowed backstage. At the beginning of the third set, I heard shots. I went into the room filled with blaring rock music and found a body. I examined the scene and determined that only the defendant could have done it. It was lucky the detective was the first one on the scene. But that door was the only way out of the room, right? Yeah, pretty much. Then I don't get it. How can they say that Machi did it? Looks like we need a bit more information. Very well, the defense might begin the cross-examination. And like I usually do before cross-examinations, I do like to save, just in case I screw up. Cross-examination. Murder circumstances. Night of the murder, I was in security backstage. The night of the murder was the night of the concert, yes? That's right. What was a detective doing on security detail, might I ask? If it was only a concert. My thoughts exactly, but orders are orders, even when they come from rock gods. Prosecutor Gavin? Yes, allow me to explain. I smelled something that day, you might say. The stench of conspiracy. That day at the concert hall. Conspiracy? Well, isn't it obvious? My keys. That whole morning. No, the whole day was ruined. And it's all because someone stole my keys. I couldn't ride my haunted show. I couldn't open my turret case. There he goes again. Isn't it possible he simply misplaced them? Misplaced them? Misplaced items don't just wander into a murder victim's hand on their own. What's this? Prosecutor Gavin, if your keys were in the victim's hand, that makes you a prime suspect. Love, slow acting and new. Atra Quinine is waiting for you. Singing something. Does everything with this guy have to be so over the top? The killing happened in the middle of my concert. I was like a sailor adrift on a sea of sound. Anyway, I didn't want anything else stolen, so I put the detective with the most time on their hands on the task. I see, I can accept that. Well, I can't. What do you mean, time on their hands? Please, a testimony. Only people involved in the concert in some way were allowed backstage. We were let in, though. I didn't know about that. I certainly didn't invite you. I gave the Fräulein special permission to be there. I wanted to see her again. Oh boy, did you hear that? We're officially involved now. Gee, great. Some other hangers-on tried to get backstage, but I drove them off. So no other outsiders were there then. And then, at the beginning of the third set, I heard shots. I believe we were having a chat when we heard the shots. You were the one chatting. I was eating snackoos. Ah, hey, no snacking in court. And you're sure the shots came from Lamoureux's room? Yes, absolutely. Hey, I'm the one being cross-examined here. Here, this'll keep you quiet. Ah, thanks. So, how about it, Emma? We were right. They're hard to be mistaken about that. Please, either talk or eat, not both at the same time. Go. Right, so after that, me and Mr. Lawyer there opened the dressing room door. Went into the room, filled with blaring rock music, and found the body. Rock? Blaring, yes. When you say rock, are you referring perhaps to this rock and roll music that's so popular these days? That's right, when we went into the dressing room. Music was blaring over the speaker on the wall. They sound from the stage into the backstage through speakers. That way people in the back can hear when they're supposed to be on stage. Did it have to be so loud? You don't listen to Gaviners with your ears. You feel it with your entire body and soul. I always had the backstage monitors at full volume. When we walked in the room, the band was playing Guilty Love, I believe, making it easy to determine the time of the crime. If you could hear that music playing, then everyone on stage for that song has an alibi, including myself. Anyway, I closed off the scene and started my investigation. I examined the scene and determined that only the defendant could have done it. How could you know something like that? As I said, it was clear from the circumstances. Listen. We know there was only one exit from the room, that door. The small window only opened a tiny crack, and I was standing in front of that door. So, how could the killer have fled the scene? There's only one possibility, the air vent. Ah. But that air vent was too small. Who could possibly... Exactly. There's certainly no way you could get through, nor me. The only one who could fit through was a child. A child. Remember, access to those rooms was limited. Only those involved with the concert were allowed. And of all the people involved with the concert, only one is small enough to be considered a child. The defendant? The pixie of the arpeggio flitted up towards the sky and disappeared from the scene of the crime. But that's just conjecture. Oh? There was no other way out of that room. You were there. You should know, Air Forehead. And there is another vital piece of evidence. Evidence? What? Marks were found in the air vent grill. Traces that had recently been opened. Wait, what? And something else was found, quite clearly. The defendant, Machi Tabai's fingerprints. What? What? Oh boy. Order! That air vent was the only way out of that room. The defendant's fingerprints were found on the grill. Well, Air Forehead, what fairy tale does this suggest to you? Ugh. Only one could pass through that vent, that doorway to heaven. And that one is a pixie. Why are you looking at me, Apollo? Hey, I was out whooping it up in the audience. So this was his decisive evidence. Quite decisive indeed. I believe that's enough of that. The prosecution has a rather convincing case. Only way in and out of that crime scene was watched, making the defendant the only one who could possibly leave the scene. Simple and decisive. I believe we've heard enough to determine our verdict, even if I wasn't in a hurry to make a hospital visit. I'm sure the Chief Justice will appreciate the gesture. Unfortunately, we have no direct witnesses. Fortunately, the criminal left decisive evidence for us. That will have to be enough. It can't be over already. Very well, I believe this trial is finished. If the defense has no contradicting evidence, prosecution has presented our proof, clear and plain. If you have contradicting evidence, it better be clear and plain. Apollo, they've got us on the ropes already. We better come up with something quick. I know. Think, what can get us out of this? We need evidence or a witness that can prove Machi is innocent beyond a doubt. Without that, cool. Mr. Justice? Do you have contradicting proof that can overturn the prosecution's case? If you do, you'd better tell us about it now. This is it, and so soon. If I mess this one up, it's all over. The court wants contradicting proof? Well, I believe we can call a witness. Prosecutor Gavin, you claim that there were no witnesses to this crime. Are you absolutely sure? Absolutely. I'd swear it on my career as a prosecutor. And on my million-seller hit song, Atra Quinine My Love. There he goes again. That's too bad, because there was a witness. Oh, really now? But how did you come to possess knowledge the prosecution clearly does not? Because I am the only one in the world who knows this. What's going on? I just talked to him and now... He's alive! Mr. Latus, can you hear me? Cold. So cold. Witness. You're cold? Don't worry, you're gonna be fine. Help is on the way. Can't see. Hang in there, Mr. Latus. Tell me, who was the witness? The witness is Siren. What? The victim said this before he died? Perhaps he did, and perhaps he did not. What do you mean by that? All we know is what Air Forehead says he said. It's no testimony, especially since it comes from the defense attorney himself.
Objection!
But it's the truth. He said it. I even told you about it. But apparently you ignored me completely. It's my policy to thoroughly investigate everything I deem relevant. Clearly this rookie lawyer thinks he can tell me how to do my job. That's enough. Mr. Justice, we need clear contradictory proof from you. This witness of yours is unknown to the prosecution. I hope you're right. Failure carries a stiff penalty. Perhaps a stiffer penalty than usual is called for? There's no backing out now. Let's hear the name of your witness, Mr. Justice. Well, how about Lamoureux?
Take that!
Lamoureux? Recall Mr. Latusse's last words. The witness is Siren. The siren? Aha, he meant the siren! That's right, the siren of the ballad, Lamoureux. Lamoureux was only on stage for the second set, and she had access to the backstage area. She could have been a witness. I see. Well, Prosecutor Gavin, my claim still stands. There was no witness to this crime. Very well. Let's hear it from the horse's mouth then, shall we? We will now take a break from Detective Emmett Sky's cross-examination. Please show Lamoureux to the witness stand. Lamoureux would say nothing the night of the murder. Not today, though. Today we'll drag that story out of her, no matter what it is. It is my distinct honor to welcome the siren of the ballad to our courtroom. You are too kind. Oh, you can speak English? Yes, I can. Though I am not very good, there is much I do not know. You speak so well. Have you spent time here before? Actually, I do not know how I came by my knowledge of your language, nor where I studied it. What does she mean? She doesn't know. I too thought to call her as a witness, but I did not. I had a reason, of course. What's that? Lamoureux suffers from amnesia. Amnesia? Lamoureux is not my true name, yet I remember nothing of the time before I was given it. Nothing of the time before I started singing on stage. Whoa, she's even more mysterious than I thought. As lauded singer Lamoureux, she lives a good life. There are little difficulties for her thanks to her success, yet I did not wish to subject her to unnecessary stress. I see. I care surprisingly little about people's pasts. You have nothing to fear in this court, Lamoureux. Thank you. Yet there is something I do not understand. I am being called as a witness? What might I say? No one will tell me anything of what happened. Lamoureux, let me be frank. I did not want to ask you up here to testify, yet that young gentleman with the wide forehead over there was adamant that you stand. Oh my! Congratulations, Apollo. You're the bad guy. Well, now that you're here, please give us your testimony. If nothing else, the sound of your voice is welcome. Tell us what you saw the night of the crime. Witness testimony. What I saw. As for what I saw nothing. That night, I was invited to sing on stage, and this I did. I did not return backstage after the second set. Then I was led by the police to Mr. Gavin's dressing room and told to wait there. That was where I learned that something had happened, but I wasn't told the details. I must say, you sound wonderful just testifying. I hope I was too distracted to hear what she was actually saying. There you have it. She saw nothing that night. Now we can only pray that the defense has the sense to admit defeat, and refrain from detaining her here longer than need be. Wow, you just got better, Apollo. Way to go. Very well, Mr. Justice. Keep it short and sweet. Well, there was a real damning piece of evidence that I'm hoping to expose right now. Lamoureux wouldn't talk to me the night of the crime. She must know something, and I've got to find out what. Cross-examination, what I saw. As for what I saw nothing. She was invited to sing on stage, and this she did. Did not return backstage. Oh, really? Well, how do you explain this?
Objection!
I'm sorry, Lamoureux, but I'm having trouble believing you. You remember this brooch, do you not? Why, that's Lamoureux's. She was wearing it for a song. Care to add that to the testimony, Prosecutor Gavin? Well, what? This brooch was found after the murder took place, at the very scene of the crime. What? Lemureur, how did your brooch get backstage if you did not go there yourself? And, as Prosecutor Gavin has just told us, you had been wearing it during your performance that night. Well, what is the meaning of this? Lemureur, please explain. Lemureur? Now she's speaking Borginian. She says English is quite difficult. That trick's not gonna work here. Your forehead may be large, but you're a lawyer, truly. But you have missed one important fact. What now? In fact, at the time of the incident, I went backstage, but only for a moment. Well, what? Think back to the moment of the crime. You know whereof I speak. Is she really saying all that? What'd she talk about, Apollo? Right when the incident occurred. Ah, is she talking about that? Watch this room for me. I have to call for backup. Right, understood. You want me to make sure no one comes in, right? Mr. Latouche, can you hear me? Yeah, I'm not reading this again. I'm sorry. I've already done it like 4 times. Siren? How could a siren witness anything? Yikes, Emma! What was that? Well, who's there? What's wrong? Emma, did you see anyone just now? Huh? No? I could have sworn I heard a door close. I looked into the room. Just a glance, mind you. So this was when your brooch dropped? That explains that. It does. There was no other time I could have dropped it. But that's ridiculous. You only looked in there for an instant, but you dropped your brooch? Her forehead. She has raised a possibility. The only thing that can counter that is evidence. So she looked into the crime scene. Actually, I intended to go into the dressing room. I knew nothing of what had happened, of course, but the moment I opened the door, I heard a horrible voice. Her forehead shouting, "Who's there?" no doubt. Horrible voice indeed. I closed the door immediately. Well, that explains the brooch. Let's return to your testimony. That's too convenient. She's hiding something. Lemureur, you did look in the room though, right? Yes. Testify as to what you saw. Very well, though it was only the briefest of glimpses. When my performance was finished, I went backstage for just a moment. I saw nothing. The late Mr. Latouche's body was behind a wall. Then I was led by a policeman's Gavin's dressing room and told to wait there.
Gotcha!
The late Mr. Latouche's body, you say? Yes. You know something more about Mr. Latouche's death than you were saying. What? I could see you trying not to remember, but the effort made you swallow. You can't fool my eyes. It is true. It was so terrible, after all. Why did Mr. Latouche have to be shot? One moment, Lemureur. Yes? What was that you just said? Why did Mr. Latouche have to be shot? Yes? She was hiding something. I knew it. Lemureur, I'm afraid you haven't realized it, but your words just now contradict your testimony. Eh? How could that be? Take this. Lemureur contradicted her own testimony, and I have the evidence to prove it. Well, that evidence happens to be this.
Take that!
Tell me, Lemureur, how did you know he had been shot? Eh? Well, immediately following the incident, a gag order was placed on the scene. This is the document proving that. In your testimony, you told the court, no one told me anything about the incident. Ah, Furthermore, you testified that you had seen nothing. Yet you knew that Mr. Latouche had been shot. How could you have known? Well... Uh-oh. Namora, you aren't hiding something in this court, I hope. That sweet song of hers was sounding a little too sweet. Ah, now I remember. Please, allow me to add to my testimony. Of course. All we want to know is the truth. She looks kind of pale, huh? She saw something, I know it. Even the victim said so. I saw bullet holes in the wall and knew Mr. Latouche had been shot. Well, she just screwed up again because I am gonna go ahead and present this. Namura, they call you the siren of the ballad, but lies are hardly becoming as such a creature. A put-down worthy of a prosecutor, Mr. Justice. Such put-downs are hardly becoming you, Apollo. Stop polishing your forehead and start polishing your character, yeah? Come on, can't I be cool for once? Observe the diagram. Namura, you looked in from the door for just a moment, correct? Yes, that is so. There were bullet holes in the room, yes? But they were in the wall the door is on. Eh? You see? Assuming you would merely glance into the room, you couldn't have seen those bullet holes. Namura. Yes? I'm afraid the defense has raised a good point. It appears you have been holding back something. And I must tell you? I must tell you what it is that I saw? Yes. The happenings in the style will begin being recorded, and I'm certain it will be on the news of Virginia. You understand your reputation is at stake. It falls to you to avoid tarnishing it. Personally speaking, I still believe that cross-examining her will yield us absolutely nothing. But she knew how Mr. Latouche died, and he named her as a witness. You must have seen something, Namura. Very well. Namura, please continue your testimony. Very well, I shall. Witness testimony. What I saw too. I was on my way from the stage to the backstage exit. There was something like a little window there. That's how I saw it. There were two shots. I couldn't do anything to stop it. But it wasn't Machi. It was a grown person. I know it was. So you did witness the crime, and the killer was a grown person, you say? Ah, this is my first time hearing this, I assure you. Nice play, Forehead. Very well, Mr. Justice, you may begin your cross-examination. Great going, Apollo. You were right about Lamoureux. What's wrong? You don't look too happy. This whole thing smells fishy. That's what's wrong. Cross-examination. What I saw too. She was on her way backstage. She was on her way stage. There's something like a window. There were two shots. She couldn't do anything to stop it. But it wasn't Machi. It was a grown person. She knew it was.
Hold it!
A grown person? That's a little vague. I am sorry. My skill with your language is lacking, I know. Certainly you could at least see whether the shooter was male or female. It was a man, a young man. And you're sure of that? Yes, his voice was quite clear. Voice? Looking at this diagram, it seems the dressing room was quite cluttered. It does seem likely that you wouldn't have had a clear view of the shooter. As a singer, I rely more on my ears than my eyes. When I hear a voice, I do not forget it. That voice was the voice of a man. So you heard a voice. But wait. Couldn't that have been the victim, Mr. Latouche? Absolutely not. Did I not just say that I do not forget a voice? If it was Mr. Latouche who spoke, I would have known. Indeed. Say you were at the window and you heard the shooter's voice, the voice of a young man. Apollo, this is a good testimony. That proves it wasn't Machi. Indeed. If this turns out to be true, it would cast this case in a considerably different light. What is the defense's opinion of this testimony? In a perfect world, I'd say it was pretty good, but unfortunately, it is contradictory. Though it pains me to say this, there's something about Lemurer's testimony that rings false. Bravo, her forehead. You're colder than I thought. I'm sure you remember what the problem is as well as I do, Gavin. As has been established, no grown man could pass through that air vent. He couldn't have fled the scene of the crime. But that means Lemureur has to be lying. I know, and I know it's bad for her case, but I can't shut my eyes to this. Believe me, idea was tempting. It is as Air Forehead says, yet this is not the only contradiction within her testimony. But what next? What's he talking about? Lemureur, I understand why you would want to protect Machi, yet remember you are the silent of the ballad. In lies do not become such a creature. What does the prosecution mean? Apollo, what's he talking about? How come no one bats an eye when he says stuff like that? I recall the state of the crime scene quite well. The state of the room? Yes, and when the murder took place. That window was closed. I find it hard to believe you could hear a voice through it. What? But I'm sure. Lemureur, I have nothing but the highest regard for your musical sense, but my opinion of you as a witness is somewhat lesser.
Objection!
But she's the only eyewitness we have.
Objection!
So you say. And the victim named her, the siren, as the witness? That's right. That's what Mr. Latouche... We heard your claim. We even entertained the possibility. And it brought us to this. Herr Judge. Yes? Prosecution requests that the witness be excused. Please. I'm afraid I must honor the prosecution's request. There is indeed a question of witness's credibility. But what if Lemureur can't testify? Then we don't have a chance of proving Machi's innocence. This cross-examination is over. Prosecutor Gavin, you may continue making your case. Danke. Now, where were we? Oh yes, I would like to hear from Fraulein Detective again.
Objection!
Wait, let me hear Lemureur's testimony one last time. But the cross-examination is already over. Until such a time as a need arises, this witness may leave the stand. I'm sorry I could not be of more assistance. At last, back to the real trial. Ready at Forehead? Well, we are going to actually stop here, and then we'll finish day 1 of the trial here in the next episode. And hopefully we can get a better grasp of what exactly is going on. I know I say that all the time, but hopefully by the end of this trial, we can at least have something to hold on to the day 2 in the investigation. So, hope you guys looking forward to that. But thank you guys so much for watching this. Hope you guys enjoying the series so far. I will see you guys again next time.